In 2016 I did some work on a number 7A steam engine which is part of this steam plant. I mainly did the piping and added a condenser to it. Anyway, the customer who it belongs to has decided that he needs to sell it. And the owner of this engine asked me if I would put an advert on my main steam website in order to help him sell the steam plant. So I thought, well, I can do better than that. I'll make a video all about it. At the end of this sequence of photographs, and it's just a slideshow as this, but it's not like this all the way through, so please don't turn it off, watch it to the end because I include 2 full episodes showing what I did to the steam plant. Once I did my bit to the engine and the plumbing, the customer took over, and look what he did to the baseboard underneath. This is a sump tank for the grate that's on the top side of the baseboard, so when you do things like blow down the water gauge, you don't get boiling water and steam all over the baseboard. In this more recent photograph, I noticed that he's also piped the drain cocks to it as well. The reason for making this video, and I'm not on commission, may I add, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. Honest, I am indeed. I made the video because quite a few viewers recently have asked me if I knew whether there were any good quality steam plants for sale. Well, here's one for starters. It's very nice indeed, and it works well. The following video features me working on the plant when I did the job a while back. This is a little job that's come in recently. It's piping up a Stuart 7A steam plant. The engine's not quite finished, and it's very well made. And the boiler is a black gates boiler, which is one they do plans for, and I think they also do flange plates and the other copper parts. A very nice boiler complete with a superheater. I frequently give blackgates a mention on my videos. A few viewers have asked why I advertise blackgates on my videos. I have no connection with them at all business-wise. They're just friends of mine and have been for many years, and they provide a very good service for the model engineer. Some of the piping's actually been done. The water tank is piped, and there was a steam pipe from the wet header to the superheater, but it was positioned far too high. I want it to run like this, down low, where you can't touch it readily. The steam pipe from the wet header to the superheater and from the superheater to the engine will both need to be lagged in string. Before starting a piping job, it's a good idea to sit back, have a cup of tea and look at the job and plan out how you're going to do it. I've just shown in a previous clip how if the pipe is straight against the boiler, it doesn't look good. In my opinion, a pipe like this needs to follow the curvature of the boiler as closely as possible. This is 532 pipe, 5/32 of an inch in diameter, and it's quite easy to bend. I'm trying to bend it here to precisely the same radius as the boiler, but if I overbend it, it will work harden. And if you work harden copper, you need to soften it. This means you have to heat it up to a dull red heat and quench it in water. That will re-soften it. But luckily I didn't have that problem. The copper bent very well. With the union nut on the pipe and tightened onto the tap, it's time now to look at the other end. I was lucky really because the original pipe used the other way round, bent perfectly to the dimensions that I needed. This is not always the case. And on this side, I'm doing it from scratch with a new piece of pipe. I like things to be fairly symmetrical where piping's concerned. Random piping fitted without any pre-thought is not a good idea. This is a very nice displacement lubricator, beautifully made in Switzerland I believe, and available from Blackgates. Time now to make up the gas tank pipe. Some people use 1/8 of an inch pipe for this. I always use 5/32 because it's more durable. It's a bit thicker, it's less likely to break and less likely to block up. So I'm about to silver solder this pipe, and the first thing to do when you're silver soldering, and I will repeat this, put the union nuts on the pipe first. Put the union nuts on the pipe first. If you want to watch the full video, and there are 2 or 3 videos about silver soldering different things on here, just type in silver soldering on a search of my channel. What I'm showing here is the silver soldering process. You need silver solder flux and silver solder itself. This is Silver Flow 55 with Easy Flow number 2 flux. And as you can see, with the correct heat, the silver solder flows perfectly all the way around the joint. If either the work is not clean, or you don't have the correct flux, or more importantly, if you don't have sufficient heat, this will not be successful. If you're in doubt, watch my other videos. They're quite comprehensive and show it in more detail. So here's the pipe in place, and it fits perfectly. I haven't bothered polishing it up. All the piping is going to go in my acid bath in due course. What I needed to do next was make a suitable adapter to convert 1/4 by 40 threads per inch to 5/16 by 32 threads per inch. This was a simple piece of lathe work, not worth showing on here. Once the fitting is made, I'm using some Loctite 542, which is thread sealant, as I fit the adapter to the engine. Be very careful with this thread sealant. If it contacts paint, it removes it very efficiently, so you notice that I am actually wiping off the surplus before fitting the part. And then, simultaneously, at the same time, who says men can't multitask, whilst fitting the part, I'm wiping off the thread sealant from my other finger with a cloth. And here comes the finger, newly cleaned, back into shot. And now I'm sure you will not be able to contain your excitement while I show some machining. This is a piece of steel that I turned to fit inside the copper tubing. So as you can see, it goes inside the copper tubing, then the whole assembly fits into the chuck. Stay calm, because any minute now, yes, here we go. Ta-da! Machining. When machining copper you have to be really careful, it's very soft stuff. That's why I use the inner piece of steel, so I can tighten the chuck jaws without crushing it. Take fine cuts and you'll be okay. Take heavy duty cuts and things will go sadly wrong. So here's the end of the machining. I'm just using a file to clean up the outer edge. And here I'm about to use a deburring tool, here it is, to remove the burr from the inside edge of the copper, because this piece of copper tubing needs to be soldered into a slot in a base. Next step, reverse the piece in the chuck. I haven't shown that, but I did. This is not just a repeat of the previous video, this is an entirely new bit. These clips are showing general assembly and some of the parts of the condenser oil trap. This is the top cap, and the two threaded holes are for the steam inlet and the drain tap. The steam inlet and the steam outlet are one and the same, you can use them either way around in an installation. I'm using the one on the top to accept the exhaust from the engine, and the one at the side to feed the exhaust to the chimney. So here I'm making a suitable length of pipe with unions to connect the engine to the condenser. The pipe and unions for the exhaust outlet on this engine are 5/16 by 32 fittings and 3/16 pipe. As the Stuart 7A is not a particularly big engine, it's okay to use 3/16 pipe for the exhaust. If the engine was any bigger than this though, I would have to go to quarter pipe. Here I'm getting ready to solder on the pipe fittings, and don't forget the golden rule, put the union nuts onto the pipe first. Here's the pipe all ready for the coned unions to be silver soldered in place. And by the miracle of video, it's such a quick job it's finished. As usual, I haven't cleaned up the piping and will do this all in one go at the end. And for the cleanup of the piping, I will be using my acid bath or pickle bath. Generally, I would tie the piping together with some thin silicone rubber tubing that I have, and the whole lot would then go into the acid bath. After a while, all the oxidization from the piping will be removed. What I have to do next is a bit scary, as this boiler does not belong to me. I have to drill a hole in the chimney. So what I'm doing is measuring the height of the outlet of the condenser and measuring the height where I need to scribe a line to make a hole. If I get this wrong, it's not going to look good. I need to have a nice straight pipe at this junction, well apart from the bend that goes to the condenser. Here's a video I did a while back about lagging copper piping using string. First of all, I put a spot of cyanoacrylate adhesive on the pipe. This holds the end. And then I just wrap the string all round the pipe, and periodically I give the string a coating of cyano to hold it in place. And as it says on the video, this is not just for decoration. On this engine there is a long steam pipe that goes from the wet header to the superheater, and another long steam pipe which goes from the superheater directly to the engine. When the plant is in steam, both of these steam pipes will get very hot, especially the one that leaves the superheater. Some people use PTFE tape for lagging pipes, and it's no good at all really. It soon gets very badly stained by the oil. Here's a photograph of an installation in a boat. The builder of the engine used PTFE, and you can see the difference between that and the one I did on the end of the engine. Here's a useful but rather obvious tip. I'm using a needle file in the hole of the steam outlet in the condenser to act as a scriber to make a mark on the chimney, and then I can drill the hole and I know it's level with the condenser. Very important, do not just use an ordinary drill to start drilling a hole in the chimney. I used a centre drill, because a centre drill will not wobble about and you will get an accurate countersunk hole. After the centre drill went through, I opened up the hole with a quarter drill, then I drilled it the right size for the fitting. Now I don't need to thread this must not be threaded, so it's a 3/8 fitting and this is a 3/8 hole. The fitting fits perfectly, not tight, not slack, it just fits in the hole. So I'm cleaning up the outside edge of the hole with my little needle file. And when I put the fitting in place, it looks okay. There's no point in threading this because you need to have a pipe on the inside that goes up the chimney. So I'll make this pipe at the same time as I make the pipe that goes from the condenser to the chimney. In this clip I'm drilling out the fitting to 3/16 of an inch, and I'm going to silver solder a pipe into it which will go up the chimney. After the silver soldering is completed, I put the pipe loosely in place on the condenser, then move it out of the way to put this little piece in. This is the pipe that goes up the chimney, and it just fits nicely and presses into the hole. Now the main pipe from the condenser can be fastened both to the chimney and the condenser. No other securing method is required for the fitting in the chimney with the short pipe that goes up the chimney, because once the condenser is screwed to the baseboard, and once the pipe is tightened onto the condenser and the fitting, that's really all that is required to hold the fitting with its pipe up the chimney securely in place. All I need now is the condenser drain tap, and here it is. The builder of this steam plant, the original builder, has put a slot in the baseboard, and I assume that the idea of this is it will act as a sump with a suitable receptacle underneath to carry away the condensate. All I need to do now is clean up all the copper piping using my acid bath. The length of silicone rubber tubing is tied to the piping, which makes it very easy to remove the piping without putting my hand into the mixture, which would not be a good thing to do. I may never play the piano again. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful.